So, is I'm audible to all of you? Okay. Good evening, Venkat. So, okay, let's start today's class. So, we was discussing about Keynesian theory. Means we have started our discussion in the last class. We have started our discussion about Keynesian theory, and this theory was in this regard of Keynesian theory of employment and output. Okay, as I many times I told you this thing, कि Keynesian theory was a response to the classical theory, right? And classical theory of employment, output, labor, for each and everything they emphasize on what? They emphasize on supply side. They always emphasize on supply side, means for any problem they ultimately they will going to zero it on the supply side. Means what they are trying to say, if there will be any problem in the economic system, then that problem is due to some problem which is hurting the supply side. If supply side will be worked properly, then there will be no issue in the economy. Even in the last class I also explained you how they give an example of what 100% employment in the economy, right? So they have given this thing. However, this very idea of this classical economist was came under severe criticism when the Great Depression came to United States of America, and due to that Great Depression, there was severe problem faced by the economy, right? So that is why that theory was criticized, and not only criticism, Keynes has given his own theory, and Keynes, even in his theory, he emphasized on demand side, right? He emphasized on demand side. However, while emphasizing on the demand side, he has given some new key concepts to study the overall economic system, right? Some of the theory we already have discussed, that is liquidity preference theory, right? Liquidity preference theory, and other concepts like aggregate demand, interest rates, how they are going to impact, right? So now today, first I will draw a diagram. In that, through that diagram I will explain his theory, because in your exam they generally do ask very basic simple questions, but Keynesian theory actually it is in what? It is in detail, right? It is in detail, but that detail is not required. So what I did, I just have one diagram, and through diagram I will explain all basic fundamental things, so that it will be easier for you to understand. And if there will be a question, you can hit the right answer in the examination, right? So as I mentioned, his theory is basically based on what? Basically based on demand function. So he explained the theory of employment and output in terms of aggregate demand. And when he said aggregate demand, he classified demand in two types. One is consumption demand and other is investment demand. Consumption demand is basically comprised of two things. One is income and other is propensity to consume. Other is propensity to consume. Income, how consumption means consumption, what we do consume, right? What we do consume, that depends upon our income and what quantity is going to satisfy our requirement, right? Whatever the requirement we do have, that requirement is going to be satisfied by particular number of unit of that good or services, right? So any demand which we have, it is going to be satisfied by particular number of unit what we want to consume. Suppose that we want car, then a certain quantity of car is sufficient for us. We want to buy home, a certain quantity of home is one or two, that is sufficient for us to fulfill our home requirement. For investment purpose, we can go and purchase many properties, but I'm talking about consumption sense rather than investment sense. So in the sense of because I given this example of what I have given this example of purchasing a house. So student argued to me ki sir, even after satisfying our one requirement to have one house, we can purchase more house. I said yes, of course you can purchase the both house. What is the motive of purchasing more than one house, right? Maybe you want to go like British, what they do, they have capital in Delhi, but at the summertime they have capital in Shimla, right? So they can go for two capitals at least, or three capital, or four capital. It's not like that, like you are having capital in every India's capital, 5 7 capitals like that. It is not possible. So similarly, if you have one home, maximum you have one ancestor home at your present home, and one is your parents' home, something like two or three. After that, whatever you have, that is for the investment purpose rather than consumption purpose or requirement purpose. Okay, so in that way, income and propensity to consume is going to impact our consumption demand. Whereas when we talk about the investment, when we talk about the investments, we are talking about those who are going to invest, that is industrialist, right? So when industrialist is going to do the investment, so for that, Keynes, just give me a minute. I have to take this call. It's urgent. Please give me a I'm really really sorry for this because this call was urgent call. I have to take it. Abhishek, good evening. मैंने just start किया है, लेट हो गया वैसे. Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, now, so what I was explaining is aggregate demand can be further classified into two parts. That is, one is consumption demand and other is investment demand. Okay, consumption demand and investment demand. So, consumption demand, I told you, income and propensity of consume. Whereas when we talk about what the investment demand, this investment is basically related to whom? According to Keynes, when Keynes was saying about the investment demand, when he means his investment demand, sometimes students get confused because they feel that ki consumption plus investment, because income of every person have two component. Income is going to be for consumption and other part is going for what? Other part is going for the purpose of savings. So when I explained here consumption, then student feel that ki this investment demand is basically the saving part. No, here when Keynes was saying the investment demand, he is talking in terms of what who are the producer, means the industrialist, those people who are involved or indulge in the production activity. For them, he is talking about the investment demand. Okay, so this point you must have to be clear in your mind when we discuss the Keynesian model of his employment and uh, output model. Okay, now investment is going to be what? Investment demand is going to be two things are going to be very important here. First is rate of interest. What is the rate of interest? And as per Keynes, I already explained this thing. Rate of interest, and according to Keynes, it is going to be impacted through money supply, and other is what? One is money supply and other is liquidity preference. So money supply and liquidity preference, these are the two things which can impact the rate of interest. I will explain briefly explain how. But the second part, which is more important according to the Keynes, which impact the investment demand, that is marginal efficiency of capital. Marginal efficiency of capital. What is marginal efficiency of capital? Just broke it down. He is talking about marginal efficiency, right? Margin of capital. What is capital? Capital is a kind of, it can be in the form of machine, it can be form of knowledge, right? Knowledge, for example, me, I have a knowledge of something, that's why I'm able to make money with my knowledge, right? With my knowledge I am able to make money, so my knowledge is my capital, right? My knowledge is my capital. Those who are saying that ki we are providing, means some people on YouTube, they claim that ki we are providing the knowledge free of cost. Even Google claim that ki we are providing this thing free of cost. Nothing is free in this world, right? If somebody is telling you it is free, then he is trying to make you what? Deception. Nothing is free in this world, everything have certain cost. And if I am saying it is free, so I'm not making you fool. If you are perceiving this is free, then you are making yourself as a fool, right? You are not able to understand the main reason and motive behind that. When Google said people ki we are providing you free internet at the railway station, everybody just want to, even some people who are staying nearby the railway station, in at particular point of time they will go to the nearby railway station and they use the internet, right? And sometimes people have effectively utilized. One guy from the Karnataka, he cleared the civil services exam, right? He went to the railway station, he do the studies from the YouTube, and he cleared the civil services exam, right? So one or two good examples are also there. But what was the main objective of Google know that every day lot of people, in fact not lot of people, more than crores of the people, more than 2 crore people will travel from the Indian railways on daily basis, right? So once they start surfing on the internet, nobody know about the VPN and how your data is going to be compromised. So you are searching about the things and your data is being captured. And according to that stored data, Google can provide that data for marketing and advertisement, and they are making the money, right? But at the same time, they have put a lot of infrastructure in India for providing the internet services. They have put a lot of money. They provided a lot of money, monetary infrastructure, around $1 billion they have spent. $1 billion they have spent to create an infrastructure for providing free internet for 30 minutes at railway station, right? So somebody questioned me, why railway, means why Google is providing free. Google is not providing anything free, right? They are providing the thing for their own benefit. Okay, fine. So this is why you always keep this thing in your mind. Nothing is free. Nothing is free, right? If you are perceiving it is free, then it is what? That is your mistake. I'm not going to say you are a fool, but it's your mistake to perceive or understand that thing as a free. It's very simple. And most of the time, the things which are providing as a free, they are the part of marketing strategy, right? One way of doing the marketing is what? One way of doing the marketing to go for newspaper advertisements, right? For coaching industry, I'm talking about. They can go for the advertisement in the newspapers, right? Or various platform and paying the money. Other way, the smart way is what? Providing few things free or at the free streaming platform, right? So that is an investment, right? So always have this thing in your mind. The beauty of this subject of economics is what? It is very rational and it never take it as a granted. Nothing we are going to take as a granted in the subject of economics, right? If something is there, then there is a reason for that thing. That's the philosophy of the subject. If something is there, that means there is a reason for it, right? And you have to find out that reason is good for you or bad for you. Okay, now coming to this point, so we are talking about the marginal efficiency and we are talking about marginal efficiency of capital. Anybody who have a confusion regarding the capital, just have this thing in the very simplest way. Anything which can generate income for you, that is your capital, right? That is your capital. My capital is my knowledge, right? Your hard work is going to be your capital. Okay, your hard work which you are doing, or I hope you are doing, or you will do the hard work. That hard work is your capital because it is going to give you the income in terms of, and not only monetary income, but it is also going to give you the social capital, means a prestige in the society, being a SEBI officer or RBI officer, right? So you have to take this thing in your mind. What is capital? Capital is something which can give you the monetary benefits, right? Now the marginal efficiency. Since last 5 6 lectures I'm telling about this marginal thing, right? When you will increase the consumption or when you will increase the production, increase the number of labors, your total productivity will increase, but per labor productivity is going to decrease if the area of production is limited, right? So when we talk about the marginal efficiency of capital, what it means, that it means that when we will invest, when as an industrialist I'm thinking about to have one more factory. I have 2 car manufacturing units in India and I want to establish third unit in India. So what are the reasons to go for third unit, right? And whatever the investment I am going to make for this third unit, is it going to give me the profit, right? At what amount it is going to be give me the profit? So all these things I have to think in terms of what? In terms of marginal efficiency of capital, the investment which I am going to make, right? Is it going to give me the profit or not? So that is why we do divide the marginal efficiency of capital in 2 parts. One is cost of capital and other part is prospect of profit. Prospect of profit. These are the two things I always have in my mind when I am thinking about marginal efficiency of capital, right? So investment. So investment it is going to be impacted by two things: rate of interest, rate of interest. Now, see, for example, if in case suppose that India is a country where labor is very cheap, right? India is a country where labor is very cheap, and in India there is a huge population, right? So huge population means huge market, and that huge market is going to be to give me the prospects of profit. It is going to give me the prospects of profit. So both things are in my favor to go for investment. However, if the rate of interest, for example, from 1950s to 1990s, during this phase, the labor cost was also very cheap at that point of time. Prospect of the profit was also very high, but in India the rate of interest was very high. Rate of interest was very high to discourage the private investments, right? So the rate of interest is going to hurt me. That's why I am not interested to invest. And how this rate of interest was very high, because the money supply was highly regulated by the Reserve Bank of India on the instructions or on the policy, you can say the policy synchronization with the government of India, right? So money supply was very limited, and that money supply automatically going to push the interest rate. Second thing, the liquidity preference. The liquidity preference. India is a country which is prone to disasters, right? Especially natural disaster. Every year there is a flood in certain areas, right? Every year there is a kind of drought like situation in certain areas. Every year there is a certainty or there is a kind of problem in the mountainous region of avalanche and sometimes cloud bursting. So India is a country where the natural disaster is always be there, right? And this is why the psyche of Indian people is always like that, ki rather than being worried about the present, they are more worried about the future, right? So they always more worried about the future rather than present, and that's why you are not able to focus on present so that you can make your future bright. You are always concerned about the future rather than present, right? So this is but natural for country like India, right? And especially the country which have a developing tag, right? But gradually the things are what? Things are changing. The people who have mindset regarding private job, own business, like, so the people who have mindset means I have seen myself कि if I will talk about कि I want to establish my own business, entire family, friends, each and everybody is going to target me. Now, maybe still people are not going to approve कि you should go for your business, but people are not strongly discouraging you. In 90s, we have seen that if somebody is going to take this initiative, कि I want to do my own business, I want to do a startup, people will say that अच्छा तू better business करेंगे, right? So this this is kind of what this is the kind of people's view, but things are changing gradually. So liquidity preference, maybe money supply will be there, but liquidity preference is also very important while deciding the rate of interest, right? So I hope this thing is clear. Okay, so he explained these things here, means consumption demand and investment demand, and then consumption demand and investment demand is going to be equal to, if I'll write it here, aggregate demand is equal to consumption demand plus investment demand. So how they are going to ask question, right? So question will be like that. Which of the following is not part of Keynesian theory of employment? Overall production in economy. So you know that it is a part of it. It is also part of it. It is also part of it. Then answer will be the overall production in the economy. This is the factor emphasized by whom? Classical economist. Now people, those students who don't know this thing, they what they will feel that if you don't know the Keynesian theory and you just read the notes of means any notes whosoever is provided, I'm not going to discuss this thing, but you just read the notes or you do not know this thing. So if you don't know this thing, then people will apply their own clever mind, right? People do apply their clever mind and they will say that Keynesian theory of employment and output, right? Keynesian theory of employment, or just to confuse them, we can also mention the Keynesian theory of employment and output. Right. So we have written this question, Keynesian theory of employment and output. Which of the following is not part of Keynesian theory of employment and output? Now, people who don't know the Keynesian theory or the main points of Keynesian theory, what they will think that overall production in the economy. If he is giving the theory of employment and output, how he can undermine this thing? He cannot undermine this thing, but he actually undermined this thing, and his entire theory was based on undermining this overall production activity in the system. He has emphasized on what? He has emphasized on the aggregate demand rather than aggregate supply, right? He completely undermined this thing. But those people who do not have an idea, they always think that ki output, they maybe they are going to tick on this interest rate, or they are going to tick on this. See, some people who himself feel very clever, they maybe click on interest rate because they feel that interest rate is basically emphasized by monetarist. So monetarist, when they are emphasizing on this interest rate, they are emphasizing for the purpose of monetary policy. They are emphasizing monetary policy, right? So answer will be D. Answer will be D. Okay. Now, just before moving ahead, I want to clear one more thing. I told you in the beginning also, I'm again telling you this thing. in the economics, when we say economics, in the economics, basically there are the three kind of dominant theories. There are three kind of the dominant theory. One is classical theory. Another dominant theory is Keynesian theory. And third is monetarist. So when we talk about the classical theory or classical economists, they emphasized on supply side, right? And when they emphasize on supply side, they say laissez faire, means very limited role for fiscal or monetary policy, right? Whereas when Keynes, he emphasized on demand side, and while emphasizing on demand side, he emphasized on fiscal policy. He emphasized on what? He emphasized on fiscal policy. What means fiscal policy? Fiscal policy means policy under which government decides expenditure and receipts. Focus on taxes. So he emphasized on what? He emphasized on fiscal policy and undermine the role of monetary policy. So Keynes also undermined the role of monetary policy because he emphasized fiscal policy. And why he emphasized fiscal policy? He emphasized on fiscal policy because he feel that demand side. And according to him, if private consumption is low, then it can be covered by public consumption. So when I use this word public consumption and private consumption, students get confused, right? Sir, public is also means we private people make the public. I, you, and everyone will make the public. So those who think in this manner, please keep this thing in your mind very clearly. When we talk about public in general, in social sense, except economics, when we talk about public, that is a gathering of people, right? But when we talk about public in economics, it is related to what? It is related to government. So how government will consume, right? How government will consume? Government can consume in terms of various kind of expenditure. Yes, Shubham. So various kind of the expenditure in terms of what? Expenditure in terms of uh, construction of highways, opening the medical colleges. So a lot of expenses can be done by the government, right? And another way, when the private consumption is low, government through its fiscal policy, especially by the taxes, See what government did with the cryptos, right? Put 30% tax on crypto assets, right? So government has discouraged it. Whereas if the government is going to say that we are going to make income tax at flat rate of 5%. If government is going to say that we are going to make income tax rate as a 5% flat rate, no upper limit, lower limit, 5% tax for everyone, right? So obviously, lot of money which we are paying to the government in terms of income tax, that is going to be available for us for the consumption or saving purpose. So that is going to trigger one person, especially. I hope you know his name, Swamiji, Subramaniam Swami. So Subramaniam Swami is a brilliant person. He is one of the rare kind of the talent in terms of he is extraordinary expert in legal. He is an extraordinary expert in economics also. He was a visiting professor in Harvard University. Right, he was invited by the Harvard University on regular basis. But since last few years, his radical views regarding religion, so they have stopped armies inviting him. But he was a regular invitee by the Harvard University, and apart from Harvard University, many other universities still they are asking him to give the guest lecture because of his eminent knowledge in the subject of economics and law, right? But he has some radical views also, so that is why sometimes he's a controversial figure. We don't want to go in that. But Subramaniam Swami, since long time, he is suggesting to the government, make income tax low, so that if you will put the income tax low, maybe then there is no need to go for increase your public consumption, because private consumption is automatically going to be trigger very high, right? So many countries have this policy. They do not have the taxation. For example, UAE, right? United Arab Emirates. So they do not have an income tax till then last year, but from this year they are going to introduce some tax on corporations who are working there in the UAE, right? So but till then date they do not have a tax on your income. So if you are an individual person, if you are a private person, and if you are earning some money in the UAE, then their government is not going to imply their any taxation on you. Yes, Swanomics. Swanomics. Shubham Deshpande is saying that 9%. What is 9%? What is 9% here? UA corporate tax. Okay, 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 fine. Acha. So this is the Keynesian theory, and monetarist, they emphasize on what? They emphasize on monetary policy, right? So these are the three big school in the subject of economics: and monetarist, Keynesian, and classical. Now, when we say Keynesian or Keynesian theory, one more thing you have to pay attention here. According to Keynes, according to Keynes, employment in country is based on total output generated in that country. However, total output itself determined by aggregate demand in the economy. Aggregate demand in the economy. Hello. Okay, sound is okay. Sound is okay. I hope now sound is okay. Okay, if sound is okay, so what I was telling you that in the Keynesian theory, aggregate demand is basically based on what consumption and investment, which I explained you here in detail. Aggregate demand in terms of consumption demand, investment demand, income, propensity to consume, rate of interest, marginal efficiency of capital, money supply, liquidity. All these things I already explained you, right? Most of the part of Keynesian theory I already explained you. There is nothing new in that part. Okay, so there is nothing new in this part. I already explained you here in the detail. Now, if we will look our syllabus, that is SEBI specific syllabus. So this part, demand and supply, business cycle, Keynesian, classical and Keynesian approach to determine output and employment, ISLM function, consumption function, investment friction multiplier and accelerator, market structure, right? So all these parts we have already done. Some investment fraction multiplier part and accelerator part, they are based on certain definitions. So what I will do, I'll take one more session where I will do this part, investment fraction multiplier and accelerator part. It will take hardly 15 to 20 minutes to explain that thing, right? So I need one more session to explain this part. After that, what I will do, this part, national income and other things, these are common to your RB syllabus also, right? These parts are RB syllabus, part of RB syllabus also. So what I need is one more session where I will explain some basic few keywords, right? Some keywords, maybe they can ask question on those keywords. Plus this multiplier and accelerator part, I will explain you in one more session. Fine. Rest of the part I already explained you. PDF is going on in 2 days. PDF is also going to be ready with each and everything. So you will get the PDFs also, right, of this semi special part. One more session is required, and after that what I will do, I will increase the timing of RBI session from 1 hour to 1 point half hours, means 1 hour and 30 minutes, so that we can cover the larger part there also. Okay. So we have to do this multiplier and accelerator. Multiplier and accelerator, we have to do what the multiplier function and accelerator function is in the economy. Basically, multiplier in simplest way, multiplier means what? Multiplier means, you have heard about the network marketing. First what we have to do, हमें तीन बंदे लाने हैं, right? First we have to, these three people, and these three people are going to bring another three people. So this is the network marketing, right? This is the network marketing. From 3, we can make it how much? We can make it 9. So 3 can be 3 can bring 9, right? So this is the network marketing. So same kind of the thing in the multiplier also. I have deposited my 100 rupees in the bank, right? Bank is going to offer me how much? Bank is going to offer me, suppose that 5% interest, right? So I went with my individual, went to the bank, and bank is offering how much? Bank is offering 5%. So what bank did? Bank give this 100 rupees to whom? To the person who need that money for their investment purpose. You can say that to industry at the interest rate of 8%. So this industrialist took the money 100 rupees at the interest rate of 8%. So he returned how much? He returned 108, right? And out of 108, you got 105. So your money is multiplied to how much? Your money is increased by 5. So this same 100 rupees can be increased further, to 105 for you, and then again you will invest this 105 and you want to increase it to 110. So the same money is going to increase the quantity of money or assets in the economy. So in that way we study the multiplier thing. Have we covered? See, in the shorts, if I'll say the short span of time, then I think we have already covered the requirement, right? We have already covered the requirement in this short span of time. Okay, if something is required more in next 2 to 3 days, I will try to means not next 2 to 3 days. First of all, my priority is to give the PDF which I already taught you, right? I'll give you that PDF, and by around 8 to 10th, whatever extra I can give you, I'll try to give you extra for this pre part also. Okay, so multiplier work in that manner, right? And when we have to accelerate this process of multiplication, then we will call this as the accelerator process. So this is the basic thing about the multiplier and accelerator, and we have to see what classicals, what Keynesians, what monetarists say about this multiple and accelerator. So it will take hardly 30 minutes in the next class, right? Then I'll discuss few keywords with you, and after that we will go for 1.5 hour session of the RBA, right? Well, I will have one Zoom session. I will have a one Zoom session, or can say one session on this thing specifically, right? How to approach this part two, and how to approach this upcoming exam. Very soon, I am going to conduct one separate session on YouTube or Zoom for all our student, if it is possible for our student at Zoom, and in general for all the students on our YouTube channel. I will do that thing. Okay. Okay, so I'm winding up for today. I'll start multiplier and accelerator tomorrow. Okay.